Well, no, I was going to put all of
Yeah, I'm sure it is. That's good.
Okay. All right, everyone ready? Okay, good evening. It is 6 o'clock, and I'll call the meeting to order for April the 11th, 2016. Item number 2 on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. I need a resolution, please.
Moved by Councillor Rock, seconded by Councillor Moyes. Be it resolved that the agenda be adopted as presented.
Any discussion on this? No? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any, it is carried. Okay. Item number 3, confirmation of minutes.
Moved by Councillor Rock, seconded by Councillor Moyes. Be it resolved that the minutes of the public hearing, regular council meeting, and the committee of the whole minutes of March 29th, 2016 be hereby approved, all statutory declarations being complied with.
Okay, any discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Just be a moment. Item number 4, Chief Administrative Officer's report.
So this is an update as it relates to various departments as of March 31st. Museum hosted the jewelry making workshop for ages 8 to 12. It was a very successful event. The museum has a temporary exhibit called We Are Taught Differently. This is on loan from Lake of the Woods Museum. We've set a date for the annual Kids Carnival, which will be July 23rd, 2016. Lacrosse clinic was held on March 18th and 19th. This has become a successful event in the last couple of years. Mission Slim Possible program was a huge success. Additional memberships and personal training were purchased as a result. Recreation Director attended the Norman Aboriginal Sport Forum. Catch basins have been a priority in the Public Works Department. Engineering has been working on frozen water lines and water breaks. It's spring and there have been a lot of complaints regarding parking, dogs, garbage, etc. Benjamin Lejeune started as the maintenance director for the Recreation Department as of April 4th. Randy Manich started as the Chief Fire Prevention Officer on April 3rd. The town undertook a restructuring initiative as it related to departmental efficiencies, which is a cost analysis done by them. Public Safety Officer and myself attended court as it relates to a traffic infraction and were successful in having a ticket upheld. 17 tickets were issued and 3 bylaw infraction letters were sent out. The Human Resource Officer and the CAO took accessibility training. The accessibility program was also established for the airport terminal. The town acquired drawn properties through the tax sale process and the land transfer has begun. And working on the safety management system follow-up for the Potter Airport.
Any questions? Okay. We'll move on. Item number 5, citizens period. So this is the opportunity when people would like to address council. This is a time to step forward. Okay. We will then move on to item number 6, unfinished business, 6.1 variation order. Number 3-2016.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Rock, whereas the town has received a variation application from Barry and Janice Lamb to reduce the rear yard requirement for an accessory building from a minimum of 10 feet to 5 feet in order to legalize the existing shed currently being used as a garage on Lot 11, Block 51-1, Plan 559 at 365 Bignell Avenue. And whereas a public hearing was held on March 29th, 2016. Therefore, be it resolved that Council approve variation order number 03-2016 as submitted by Barry and Janice Lamb.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item?
Now, this is where they access it, infringing on someone else's property?
Yes.
Right.
And the original permit was for a shed and not a garage.
Right. So I guess my issue is that if we're going to start allowing people to infringe on other people's property or devaluing their property. in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Right? You're going to go down the road and someone's going to want to sell and say, well, what's the deal here?
Anybody else? No? I want to be on the record that I will be voting against the approval of this variation order. The person in question received a building permit to build a shed, and he put a door on that shed, and then not long after, put a big garage door on another side of it that backed onto the alley, and made it very hard, made it absolutely difficult for the neighbor across the alley to use his garage properly. So I will not be voting in favor of this. Anybody else? Okay, I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It's defeated 7-0. Okay, 6.2, conditional use application.
Jim?
Yep.
Scott, excuse me.
Yep.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Rock, whereas the town received a conditional use application from Swampy Creek Holdings Limited to permit a boarding/lodging house in a residential single-family zone, being Lot B, Plan 4550 at 157 Bell Avenue. And whereas a public hearing was held on March 29th, 2016. Therefore, be it resolved that council approve conditional use application number 03-2016 for 157 Bell Avenue, submitted by Swampy Creek Holdings Limited to permit a boarding/lodging house in a residential single-family zone.
Okay, thank you. Is there discussion on this item? Councillor Moore.
I will be voting in favor of this conditional use application. I believe that the receiving home is going to be a very positive thing for the community. I also believe it'll be a positive thing for the neighborhood. I think that most of the concerns that were brought forward, I think people are going to see that it's not going to be as bad as you think that it's going to be. I've done research myself on other receiving homes throughout the province in different neighborhoods and areas and cities and towns. Most of them are in residential neighborhoods, and they don't see a lot of problems or issues in a result of that. I think that, like the economic impact that it's going to have, it's going to create new jobs. The supplies that they're going to need are all going to come locally. It's just going to be a good thing for the community all around. So I will be voting in favor of it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rock?
Oh, yes, thank you. I too will be voting in favor of it. After hearing all the concerns that were brought forward at our last meeting and looking at checking them out and trying to determine, well, what is the best thing for our community? One of the realities as councillors is our job is to try and weigh and balance the pros and cons of any activity and determine what is going to be the best thing for the community going forward. Right now, with regard to this, as you know, there's not lots of parcels of land. This is one parcel of land that the town owns and is able to sell at this time. So the receiving home can move forward in its construction and so on and so forth. I think it'll be good for the community. I think it'll also be good for the neighborhood. As well, I think it's important to realize that the town and council will be looking at other things that can do to improve things in the area, such as sidewalks and whatnot, going forward. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Sminsky?
Yeah, I'm also going to be voting in favor of the variation or the conditional use application. I echo a lot of the statements that Councillor Marsh and Councillor Rock made. For me, the economic benefits far outweigh any of the perceived or, I guess, perceived ill effects that might come from having a receiving home in a residential area such as Bell Avenue. I just think it's going to end up being a good thing for the community as a whole, and I don't think it's going to be as detrimental to the neighborhood as it stands. So that's where I sit.
Councillor Commodore?
Thank you. I feel this is a much needed for our surrounding outlying neighbors. I've worked in the medical field long enough to realize the benefits to patients who desperately need this service. Thank you.
Councillor Forward?
Yeah, I would also echo a lot of the sentiment around the table, and I will vote in favor of the conditional use application. I find that given the right consideration, the benefits for the community in the long term outweigh the challenges that may arise in the shorter term, and I feel that the challenges that may have been pointed out, if they come to, pardon me, if they come to pass, are challenges that are ones that can be mitigated, and that in the bigger picture and in the longer term, the benefits of this project outweigh the challenges that may arise. So I'll be voting in favor.
Thank you. I'm going to read a statement, and the copy will be made available to all of you. I want to begin by thanking everyone that took the time 2 weeks ago to come to these chambers and be heard. It is exactly why public hearings are held, and I thank you for participation. On February 22nd, 2016, the Town of The Pas received an application from Swampy Cree Holdings Limited seeking to change the property located at 157 Bell Avenue from single-family residential to allow for a boarding or lodging house to be constructed within the zoned property, allowing for the construction of that receiving home. Under the guidelines of the Province of Manitoba Municipal Act, a public hearing was called for and took place on Tuesday, March 29th, 2016. Normally, when a public hearing is held, Mayor and Council will ask for any person who is for or opposed to the subject of the hearing to present themselves and be heard. Mayor and Council will hear what those folks have to say, and later, within that agenda of the Council meeting, will vote in favor or against the subject of the public hearing. It is extremely rare for this to be tabled, as was the case on the 29th. I'm sure all of those present recognized all members of Council taking copious notes. There was, in fact, a very large number of people who attended, and every opportunity was given for them to speak either in favor of the request within the public hearing or opposed. Every person who wanted to be heard was. It was suggested and agreed by this Council to suspend that vote on the hearing until the next Council meeting, allowing all of us to look into and give more consideration to what was being presented. This Council has done that, and this evening we as a Council will be voting. And so before we do that, I want to go over the points brought forward and the results from those concerns. It basically came down to about 15 different points. There was quite a bit of repetition, but there were 15 points that were brought forward. And in no particular order. Number one, this is a family-oriented area, and neighbors do not want a development such as this. A boarding and lodging house is a conditional use in a residential family zone. Rezoning in this particular instance is not required because the purpose was to put a condition on the development if needed. A boarding, a lodging house is a permitted use in a residential multiple family zone, with the key word being residential zone. A residential area is the only zone a boarding and lodging house is permitted. Number two, why weren't we notified of the land sale? All land sale discussions are held in camera until such time as an agreement is made. At that time, the matter comes into an open session of Council, and a resolution is passed authorizing the signing of the agreement. This falls under the Manitoba Municipal Act, Section 152, subsection 3, whereby Council may close a meeting if the matter to be discussed relates to a matter that is in its preliminary stages and respecting with discussion in public could prejudice a municipality's ability to carry on its activities or negotiations. Number three, why weren't we sent a letter about the hearing, and why wasn't it advertised? In accordance with the Planning Act, only those property owners located within 100 meters of the affected property are notified of the changes being proposed. There is no requirement to advertise a public hearing, and it is something that's not done. This particular application was treated exactly the same as all other applications. Number four, there are no sidewalks, and the area lighting is minimal. This area has been included in a sidewalk renewal plan, but hasn't been done to date. This Council believes sidewalks, whenever possible, along the designated walking path would be a plus. Sidewalk construction in the 100 block of Bell Avenue on its west side is slated for construction in 2016. That is the opposite side of the street where the proposed receiving home would be located. There are the required number of light standards in the area. If the proposed developer feels a need to increase the lighting, they can do so working with Manitoba Hydro at their expense. Number five, there will be increased traffic. If this application is approved and the development goes forward, there will indeed be more traffic. Any development, whether it be single-family homes, multiple-family development, senior housing, 55-plus housing, any development will see an increase in traffic. Number six, parking could be an issue as well as increased levels of garbage. The garbage truck will go to the facility in the same way garbage is picked up throughout the community. Again, regardless of what is developed, garbage will need to be collected. As for parking, this should not be an issue of concern. The lot the proposed home will be located on is large enough to accommodate sufficient parking. You would think it would be safe to assume patrons of the facility will most likely park in the parking lot at that facility. Number 7, the grounds at 157 Bell are contaminated. This site was cleared prior to the town purchasing it in 2006. The town has a letter on file dated July 29, 2015 from Tracy Braun, Environmental Stewardship Division, stating the environmental report from Hydro was closed in September 2005. The report indicated the remedial excavation at the site was complete and that confirmation samples showed concentrations of contaminants below applicable guidelines. In other words, the property is good to go. Item number 8, location concerns. What about other potential sites? Several locations were considered prior to this selection. Those sites included the old Western Grocers land, the land on Railway Avenue behind Home Hardware, Winton Manor site, the land located on Halcro Avenue behind the Laverandre Motel, and none of them were either large enough or available. Item number 9, concern of adequate infrastructure. The water and sewer lines are large enough to accommodate the development. The only other infrastructure concern was that dealing with sidewalks, and that's been addressed. Item number 10, concern that the road, Bell Avenue, is too narrow. The width of Bell Avenue is the same as any other road in the PAW. There may be a slight variation on some of the roads, but nothing that would cause any concern. Number 11, there's a school bus stop in the area, and the town also uses the property as a storage site for snow and materials. The school bus stop at the corner of the site, and there is no reason to suggest that stop would no longer be used. Every location within the town that has a school bus drop-off spot is marked as such. In terms of storage, the town has a snow dump not far away from that location, and that location on Bell would no longer be used. With the dumping of snow removed from the location, it would make the property actually more presentable. Item number 12. A, is there a need for another hotel? And B, why is this property being used for a hotel rather than houses? The proposed development is not for a hotel. A hotel is meant for travelers and tourists. The receiving home is for those requiring medical care. Item number 13, increase in the potential of vandalism in the area. There is obviously potential for increased vandalism in any area. It is easy to suggest the opposite is possible because there will be people employed who will be working overnights, which gives an increased presence in the area. The RCMP were contacted on this issue who have indicated there are very few complaints made in that area. The entire community could use more police, but it is difficult to argue that increased members of the RCMP would be required because of this proposed development. Item number 14, council is to represent the electors. This is very important and a very true statement. Section 83, subsection 1 of the Municipal Act states that each member of a council has the duty to consider the well-being and interests of the municipality as a whole and to bring the council's attention anything that would promote the well-being of interest in the municipality. Item number 15, the land will be converted to treaty land and then no taxes would be paid. Swampy Creek Tribal Council can apply to the federal government to change the lands to reserve lands. They can also apply to Manitoba to see if the lands could be included under a TLE. TLE will still result in the most of the municipal portion of taxes being charged, as it is basically services that we're being charged for. Swampy Creek Tribal Council can do either of these things with any private lands they purchase. They would need to make application on their own, and the application would be at the discretion of both the federal and the provincial government.
Sorry, can I just to make things really clear, even if the land was switched over under treaty land entitlements, they would still technically pay taxes to the town. It's just not called taxes. It's a grant in lieu of taxes. So they might get a little bit, they might not have to pay the school portion, say, but they would pay for all the other services like fire and garbage and all that. So even if it did get converted to treaty land, they wouldn't be getting a free ride, much like with Food Town or Pasquia Convenience is on treaty land, but they still pay a grant in lieu of taxes to the town for things like fire and garbage and all of that.
Thank you. We live in a community that's not growing. In fact, it's shrinking. One of the biggest reasons this is happening is our lack of growth, the lack of development to strengthen its economic well-being. A council must weigh this value with each and every decision. 2 weeks ago, we heard that Swampy Creek Holdings Limited was purchasing the property for $158,000. Not only is it the current assessed value, it's also $157,999 more than the only other offer the town has received. 2 weeks ago, we heard from Swampy Cree Holdings Limited that the development was pegged at a value of nearly $5 million, that local contractors would be hired and building materials would be purchased locally. Many people within our region would be collecting a paycheck. When the construction phase ends and the operational phase begins, 14 full-time and 5 part-time jobs would be created, jobs that currently do not exist. The operation of this receiving home would generate conservatively $55,000 annually in property taxes. This is community growth. This is economic development. This proposed development is in the best interest of the entire community. And with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? It is carried 6-0.
And then there were three.
I don't know if they want it.
Well, the media might want it.
Yeah.
Guess.
Yeah.
Okay, item number 7.1, procedural bylaw.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Morris. Be it resolved that bylaw number 4539, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to regulate the proceedings and conduct of council.
Yeah, just got to get Gibber back here.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that guy.
He tends to wander.
He wasn't here last time, so he threw me for a loop.
Yeah,
Should I start over?
sure.
Okay, you got it. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Morris. Be it resolved that bylaw number 4539, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to regulate the proceedings and conduct of council and the committees thereof, and to repeal bylaw number 4501 be read a first time.
Any questions on this? First reading, yes, Councillor Rock.
Yes, I do have a few questions. I regret it was late. I didn't get a chance to really review it till today. Going through the document, under G1, where I like the idea that we're going to be posting information on the PAW website. And in this day and age, it's important that people can go to a website and find the information they need. My only concern with that is I don't understand why we wouldn't post the same thing councillors get with regard to supporting documents on the website, because it's a transfer from one thing to another. And that way, if citizens care to see what's on the agenda and see what's coming up and why, the why would be there. Because as I understand it, they probably get it here when they walk in anyway.
I think the same agenda is on the website that's sitting on my,
Yeah, there's a
All that
public
right now.
agenda that people have the right to come and see what the attached documents are that you see. The
Yeah,
only
if
thing
you go
the
to the
public
town-
doesn't see is in-camera discussion.
Yeah, if you go to the town website, they see the exact same agenda that we see.
Including all the documents?
Yeah, just minus
Oh,
the
okay,
in-camera stuff.
I guess when I looked at it, I didn't
fine.
see it.
That's all right.
Okay, that's good, that's great, actually. Okay, the item number 5 on the next page, under G, where we're proposing that a majority vote be taken, as opposed to the previous term was consensus. And I guess my concern here is that creates a process now that we'll have to go through each and every time if we want to change the order of our agenda, which to me just adds time, where now it's by consensus. So if the chair asks if we can move things around, we generally say yes.
I'm not sure I'm following you, I'm sorry.
Well, if it requires a majority vote, that means we have to move a motion, we have to go through a process that to me is,
But we do that if we move something in the agenda, because then when we present our agenda, it's as amended, and then we all vote on it, right? Like when we move our agendas at the beginning of the meeting, it's always as adopted or as amended. So if we make an amendment to the agenda, when we go to move that agenda, then we accept it as amended and not as presented, right?
oh, okay, so then the intent here is taking out consensus, because consensus is not the current process we use. That's,
This actually matches.
okay.
Yeah, this
Okay,
does what
I
we
was
do.
looking at it the other way.
All right?
Okay, a couple other items. Oh, under J, delegations, we've added a number 4. And I wasn't sure why we necessarily needed that firm.
Well, because it would be, if there's an issue, like we just had this evening, if people have always opportunity to speak at a council meeting. There is, at the beginning and at the end of every council meeting, there is an opportunity for citizens to talk, to make any point that they wish to make. If we were to have people stepping in and out of conversations throughout the agenda, we would be here for days. And so it's really a time factor. We give them opportunity at the beginning and at the end, and if it involves a public hearing, they also have opportunity at that point to speak.
Okay, so then this empowers the chair just to cut them off if somebody starts to talk? Because we've run into that recently.
Right, so like if...
When it's
if-
not in the
yeah.
public, there's a microphone for speaking to council, and if you're sitting in the back row, it's not appropriate. Okay.
No, and that's why
good.
I do anyway. I ask them to come forward, state their name and their physical address.
Okay.
Okay? Anything else?
Well, yes, under voting number 7, the part about voter abstention of each member and the reason given needs to be included in the minutes, I believe is what the Act says, and I'm wondering why we've...
Okay, so as I understand it, anyone at any time at this table can call for a recorded vote.
Yep.
At any time. And that's fine. That rarely would happen. We normally have a recorded vote on a third reading of a bylaw. If there's other issues that come forward and it's contentious and they perhaps want a recorded vote of it, that can take place too. I'm not sure, I mean, if someone abstains, they usually explain why they're abstaining. They don't just feel, I don't feel like voting on this issue. I think there's always a full explanation.
It's because you can't abstain unless you actually have a reason.
Right,
That's
and,
why. You can't just abstain because you don't want to vote.
Yeah.
You have to have a legitimate reason.
right.
That's
And the-
defined by the Act for abstaining. You can't just decide, well, I don't want to vote today.
Mostly it's conflict of
If you call it
interest.
conflict,
That's where
yeah.
people call it, is they'll disclose. So naturally, when they're abstaining, it's because they've filed a conflict, so they're not even...
Right, and the Municipal Act requires that abstention be recorded in the minutes.
Yes.
Correct.
But it appeared to me that it was being
I
removed.
have a conflict.
On-
So that would be what's recorded.
On every item that we vote on, there's lines for, against, abstained, carried or not carried, and then a signature. So it is recorded if someone abstains.
Okay, the current bylaw with regard to that has, under number 7, and the reason given for any abstention. That has to be recorded. That's all I'm curious about is why are we removing that?
It
See-
is recorded, Brian, in our minutes, it is recorded.
It just needs
And a
to...
lot of these changes were housekeeping. You would ask Jen to see what other municipalities do. A lot of it was housekeeping, and that was in some of the other ones.
Well,
Generally, every time someone declares a conflict, right in the minutes it states that they declared a conflict.
And that
But
would be
the-
the
but-
reason
Yeah.
for their abstention, right?
but see, just to say I have a conflict is not an explanation.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
You don't have to
Somebody
explain
wants
what the
If somebody
conflict
wants to
is.
challenge your conflict,
Then
it should
you-
have been filed with the CAO, and by the order of a judge, they can ask to see that, only by the order of a judge. But me simply saying I have a conflict, I don't have to disclose to you what my conflict is. I'm saying there is one, I've filed it with the CAO because this is an issue that I have conflict with, I walk out the door. If you decide that you don't like that, you think I don't actually have a conflict, but that I should be sitting here voting, you would have to go to a lawyer to take it to a Court of Queen's bench to get an order to be able to look at that filed conflict.
So
That's how it works.
It still begs the question, this text is in the Municipal Act, but for some reason we're excluding it from ours, which is a copy of the Municipal Act previously.
So you want to see in number 7 that it should still say that the vote or abstention of each member is the reason for the vote or abstention, the vote of abstention is recorded in the minutes. You need number 7 to say the reason for the abstention is recorded in the minutes. that be the directive of the bylaw, that if I abstain, it's captured in the minutes that I abstain,
Right.
and the reason for that. And it doesn't say that here. His point is valid. It doesn't say in
No,
our
I
bylaw.
agree, it
Well,
doesn't
and
say it there, but
My,
you're going to be, if you're going to abstain, you're going to declare a conflict of interest, and so, and then that
But
whole
that's-
other procedure goes.
But Brian's point is that
It
if
should
it
say
doesn't,
it.
if it doesn't say in here that the reason for my abstaining needs to be recorded in the minutes, then it doesn't say that. And Brian wants to see that our rule says that if I abstain, that my reason for abstaining is recorded in the minutes, even though we're already doing it, and that in the minutes of the meeting, through our process, we're normally recording it. If his point is,
Yeah, I
if this
understand.
bylaw doesn't say that it has to be recorded, then
And you would like it to say so, Brian?
well,
If
right,
it's
that
the
way
wish
it's,
of council, we can definitely bring it forward
let's-
as amended. I do want to remind you that this bylaw has not changed since the other 2 or 3 times that we have seen it. It was in the initial bylaw that was prepared for council's review.
So can we have that change made, Brian, and bring it for amended, bring it as amended?
As
for-
amended for a
well, yeah,
second
because,
reading?
this way it's consistent with the act.
Sure.
That's-
So we'll amend
That
it for
was
the
my
second
concern
reading?
with that one.
This is first reading, right?
Well-
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is first reading, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to vote on this then.
And number 2 will be as amended.
Okay.
right, and under M,
sorry.
bylaws and resolutions, this deleted, what used to be the order of speaking to motions and whatnot, and a process, and it really hasn't replaced it with anything, so I'm wondering why we would do that.
I need a little bit more guidance. Whereabouts under M?
Yeah.
What number?
Okay, okay, let me get this. Sorry about this delay, it's just a lot of, and I think it's so important because it is, of the bylaw it is. Now, under our M bylaws, we have 1 and 2, which were consistent with the existing. 3 and 4 in the existing have been deleted from this document, and they referred to the order of speaking to a motion, mover, seconder, and so on and so forth. And also number 4, which was bylaws will be introduced by motion for leave and motion to appoint a committee to prepare and so on and so on. It gave highlighted the processes that the council would go through to get a bylaw or a motion brought forward. And it strikes me as it's not doing us any favors by removing it, I didn't think. So I raised the question as to why.
Is it because we don't follow that
We weren't
process?
doing it, and
Yeah.
that's why it was taken out to clean up the bylaw, Brian.
Well, sometimes just because we don't do it doesn't mean it shouldn't be done. But anyway, that was my question on that one. And on the same section M, number 12. The
That was
mayor-
in the old bylaw. 12 was in the old
Oh,
bylaw.
okay.
Right, and I'm wondering if, what changed to cause us not to need to give authority to do that, signing of checks and whatnot?
Because if you read the green part on the last meeting, I had in there that it is addressed in the other bylaw, in the organizational bylaw. Which one are you talking about?
Rather than duplicating them and putting
We're on
in
the
both bylaws
procedural
On the
right now.
procedural bylaw, yeah, and it's addressed in the organizational bylaw already, for the signing of checks and agreements.
And a lot of them, we have the automatic signing of checks under certain amounts. Anything over is done with the mayor.
Right, I did. Okay, that was all I had in questions.
All right, then we'll vote on first reading. All those in favor? Carried. And you'll make that.
Yeah, one minor change.
Perfect. Item number 7.2, organizational bylaw, bylaw number 4542.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Morris. Be it resolved that bylaw number 4540, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to govern the organization of the Town of the Paw and the committees thereof, and to repeal bylaw number 4521, be read a first time.
Thank you. Any questions on this one?
I had a question with regard to number 4 under Council Recreation Commission. If we leave this current number in this bylaw, will it not change as soon as, if we approve the Kelsey Rec bylaw?
What are you, sorry, where are you?
On number 4 on the second page, where you have the Kelsey Rec Commission, Sam Waller, and the Public
Yeah.
Library. Under Kelsey Recreation, where we refer to a bylaw, and I believe we have an upcoming thing where the bylaw is going to change right away, so there may be an issue of timing, so that we get the,
Because we're gonna, yeah,
What's that, sorry?
it'll be as amended.
As amended for
Yeah,
this?
the second reading would be as amended to reflect that.
Yeah, Kelsey Rec.
If you
bylaw.
recall,
Second or third.
the
Second
reason
and third
these
tonight.
bylaws, these were supposed to be done in November of last year, and they kept getting put on hold and put
Yeah.
on hold, and now we're at it today.
Yeah.
So the intent at the time, these bylaws wouldn't have been in place yet or even thought about. So the second reading
Yeah.
will be as amended.
yeah, that was
With the new
just,
bylaw. because
Yeah,
it will be
with the
passed
new
tonight.
bylaw
Yeah.
number, yeah.
Is there another item, Brian?
no, that was all.
All right. First,
The KRC bylaw is being finished tonight.
No, I realize that, but is there not, could we not put a mechanism in these bylaws saying, as governed under the Town of the Paw bylaw number 4436, or any bylaw that replaces that? I don't know. Do you know what I'm
The
saying?
thing is, when you do that, sometimes you don't know what the latest bylaw is. That's why we always
Yeah.
make reference to it. We do go through these at least once during the term, so if there is any kind of changes, it would reflect in our bylaw, we'd have to make the
Okay,
amendments.
all right, so it's not, yeah,
Yeah.
I got you.
okay, call the question then. All in favor of first reading? Carried. 7.3, Destination Marketing Reserve Fund.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Morris. Be resolved that bylaw number 4536, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw, to provide for the creation of a reserve fund for destination marketing and to repeal bylaw number 4454, be read as second.
I see a finish line. Any discussion on this item?
No. Can we table it?
Can I
All those in favor? 7-0. Third reading?
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Morris. Be it resolved that bylaw number 4536, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw, to provide for the creation of a reserve fund for destination marketing and to repeal bylaw number 4536, be read a third time and be passed.
Any discussion? This is a recorded vote. Councillor Gibb?
Aye.
Councillor Forward?
Aye.
Councillor Rock?
Aye.
Councillor Zelinski?
Aye.
Councillor Morris?
Aye.
Councillor Commodore?
Aye.
I myself, 7-0. I believe that brings a close to 7 years of work. Oh, they'll be calling me in tomorrow. Dare we move on? 7.4, Recreation Infrastructure Reserve Fund.
Hey, Sam. Sam. You got a little something brown on your nose.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Commodore, be it resolved that bylaw number 4537, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to provide for the creation of a reserve fund for recreational infrastructure, be read a second time.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Third reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Commodore, be it resolved that bylaw number 4537, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to provide for the creation of a reserve fund for recreational infrastructure, be read a third time and be passed. Recorded vote.
Any discussion? Councillor Gibb.
Aye.
Councillor Forward.
Aye.
Councillor Rock.
Aye.
Councillor Zelinski.
Aye.
Councillor Morris.
Aye.
Councillor Commodore.
Aye.
I also am aye. 7. Carried. All righty, 7.6, Kelsey Recreation Commission.
Or 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Commodore, be it resolved that bylaw number 4538, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to provide for the creation of a reserve fund for community enhancement and to repeal bylaw number 4453, be read a second time.
Sorry about that, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Third reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Commodore, be it resolved that bylaw number 4538, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to provide for the creation of a reserve fund for community enhancement and to repeal bylaw number 4453, be read a third time and be passed.
Cannot begin to tell you how happy I am to see these move forward. Councillor Gibb.
I was going to say something.
Councillor Forward.
Aye.
Councillor Rock.
Aye.
Councillor Zelinski.
Aye.
Councillor Morris.
Can I just say I'm also happy to see the end in sight, and thank you very much to our staff for putting up with all the indecisiveness surrounding this. But I am also an aye, gladly,
Happily.
happily.
Councillor Commodore.
Aye.
Me too. 7 to 0. Carried.
Now we're just waiting on the minister, right? I'd be so mad. If you guys didn't give
Okay,
me
let's
his
try
number, 'cause I will call.
7.6 this time.
Okay, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Gibb, resolved that bylaw number 4544, being the bylaw of the Town of the Paw to establish a public recreation commission and to repeal bylaw number 4463, be read a second time.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Third reading, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Gibb, resolved that bylaw number 4544, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to establish a public recreation commission and to repeal bylaw number 4463, be read a third time and be passed.
Excellent. Recorded vote. Councillor Gibb.
Aye.
Councillor Forward.
Aye.
Councillor Rock.
Aye.
Councillor Zelinski.
Aye.
Councillor Morris.
Aye.
Councillor Commodore.
Aye.
I am also. All right, 7.7, tax levy.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Gibb, resolved that bylaw number 4546, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to impose and levy property taxes for the Town of the Paw for the fiscal year 2016, be read a second time.
Right, any questions on this? Any comments on this?
Go us.
Call a question. All in favor? Carried. Third reading, please.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Gibb, resolved that bylaw number 4546, being a bylaw of the Town of the Paw to impose and levy property taxes for the Town of the Paw for the fiscal year 2016, be read a third time and be passed. Recorded vote.
Hats off to everyone who worked hard on this over the last 7 months. We're way ahead of schedule. Well done. Councillor Gibb.
Aye.
Councillor Forward.
Aye.
Councillor Rock.
Aye.
Councillor Zelinski.
Aye.
Councillor Morris.
Aye.
Councillor Commodore.
Aye.
I am an aye as well. It's carried, 7. All right, let us move along then. 8.3.1, payroll up. 8.3. Kelsey School Division Committee.
Sorry, that's me. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Rock. Be it resolved that council appoint Councillor Zelinski and Forward and Mayor Scott to sit on the Kelsey School Division Committee to discuss ongoing items that are of concern to both the town and the school division.
Any discussion on this? Yes, Councillor Rock.
I just speak in favor and was happy to move it because I think it was important that we work together with our fellow council in town and school division and set up a dialogue, and this is just moving that forward, and I think it's great.
Partnerships are indeed a good thing. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, 7-0. Carried. Alrighty, 8.3.2 payroll and accounts.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Commodore, be it resolved that council authorize the following accounts. General checks number 16905 to 16983 in the amount of $430,109.81. Payroll period number 6 in the amount of $104,000, or $104,072.45.
Paying the bills, paying the bills. Any questions? I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Okay. Carried. 8.3.3 management salaries.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Commodore, be it resolved that as per the recommendation of the Chief Administrative Officer, Council agree to provide a 2% increase retroactively to July 1st, 2015 for the following management positions. As per discussion during the in-camera portion of the March 29th, 2016 Committee of the Whole meeting. The Fire Chief, Human Resource Officer, Municipal Superintendent, Assistant Municipal Superintendent, Public Safety Officer, Assistant Chief Admin Officer, Chief Financial Officer, Recreation Director, Recreation Assistant, Wellness Center Consultant, and Museum Director.
Any discussion?
Just that we're giving our managers the same increase that we gave to the
That's
rest of our
worded incorrectly
employees.
by myself. It would be 2% retro for last year, and if you're looking at the same as the union, it would be 2% as of 2016.
2% retroactively to July 1st, 2015.
But the union is 2% in 2015 and 2% again in 16.
Not sure I know what you're asking for
So
here.
Yeah.
this is the retroactive, but we didn't actually, this doesn't approve
It
the
should be in a
2% for
2%,
2016.
if you could add on there, and 2% for 2016. That's my error.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. The way I'd worded it, it was just retro 2%, and if it's the same as
2%.
union, it's 2% for half of 2015 and 2% 2016.
So you'll want to amend the next resolution and add the end 2% for 2016 at the end of that one.
My apologies.
I've got it here.
Yeah, but we have another one coming up.
Oh, yes. Well, yeah, okay, yeah. All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question as amended. All those in favor? Carried. 8.3.4, Chief Administrative Officer salary.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Commodore, be it resolved that Council authorize a 2% increase retroactively to July 1st, 2015 for the position of Chief Admin Officer as per the discussion during the in-camera portion of the March 29th, 2016 Committee of the Whole meeting. So that's 7-1,
You'll have to add end 2% for 2016.
and 2% for 2016.
Any discussion? Increase?
Make sure you add the end 2% for 2016.
Call the question. All those in favor? Carried. All right, item number 9 is general business. So I'm doing my reports, pardon me. Museum Board.
Yes, the Museum Board met on April the 5th. I wasn't able to attend, but I have a copy of the minutes. And they received a financial report to the end of February, which showed a deficit to date of $31,394, which is waiting for what we just passed, our budget. Also, they deaccessioned into the permanent collection of the Sam Waller Museum some skulls and the like. So they're taking them out of our collection, and they're items that were at the university, and so they'll be hanging on them. And They attended the Travel Manitoba Experiential Workshop. There were a variety of members there and people from OCN, Cranberry Portage, and Flin Flon. What they've learned there, they'll be able to implement in their historic walking tour this summer. And also Open Farm Day activities, they're planning for that, and they're hoping to have that occur in September 18th, a Sunday of 2016.
Good.
That's all.
Thank you. Councillor Commodore, Chamber of Commerce.
No meeting.
Okay. The Pawn Area Justice Network, no meeting. Councillor Rock, Sustainable Forest.
No meeting as yet.
Okay. Councillors Zelinski and Commodore, Citizens on Patrol.
I wasn't able to attend the meeting.
We had pizza night. We said goodbye to Staff Sergeant Jeremy Allard. He will be deeply missed. Very good guy.
Yep.
Other than that, that was it. We just had pizza night.
Okay, Recycling Board, Councillors Ford and Commodore.
No meeting.
No meeting, okay. Kelsey Rec, Councillor Gibb. No meeting. No meeting. The PAW Community Renewal Corporation, Councillor Marsh.
No meeting till the end of the month.
What about the Library Board, Councillor Zelinski?
No meeting till tomorrow.
And Joint Committee of Council, Commodore and Rock.
No meeting.
Well, last week, yes, sir.
Could I add one thing with regard to that Gateway Kuwait and Corridor Inc.
Yes.
Committee I sit on, which is a committee between Saskatchewan and Manitoba of interested stakeholders in improving our 283 highway and the 9 and 55. Just so you're aware, they're holding their annual general meeting tomorrow. They'll be holding it at the Arm of Kelsey boardroom. There'll be members coming from Saskatchewan and, of course, from here. There was a request that I got Friday night, and I would like to thank Randy for helping to set up a tour of our airport for their airport people. They want to learn from us and see how we do things and what we do. So I appreciate that, and so will they. Thank you.
Good. I wanted to say that last week we held our first meeting with the PAW Community Development Corporation.
Yay!
Yes, and we would say we have 9 million jobs on the way, but we're certainly talking about it. I was elected the chair. Reef Berzawicki was elected the vice chair, pending ratification from his council, and Darcy Monroe has taken on the job of secretary treasurer. So we are on our way. Very happy.
Yay!
All right, Jared, give us a speech or? Trent, anything you want to bring forward? No? No?
What do you think of the Broncos' new quarterback? Just kidding.
All right, then we will move into, we'll adjourn this.
Adjourn, yeah.
The whole.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh,
wait.
do you want CDC added to the bottom of that list?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sure.
sorry.
Okay.
And same with the Kelsey School one too?
Yeah, we should add them.
Okay, because those will be ongoing meetings, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent.
They are.
Well, Kelsey's school division asked us, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are we taking a fiver here, or?
Was
Well,
that?
no, I know, but it
Yeah.
just when they sent out the meeting, it sounded like it was only one meeting. Pick a date. They didn't
Well,
say.
no, they said that this is when we're meeting, which one
Nice
can you
try,
come
Chuck.
to? Yeah.
I'm fine with it. I just.
Now he's trying to get out of it.
Wait a minute. Are the minutes completed yet?
Okay, are we going to take a 5-minute break? We're just going to go.